Hey guys, I hope you'll excuse my lighting here. Wanted to show you some upgrades and fixes that I've done or am doing on this old Coleman stove. This is about the third one of these things I've had, and I've always had the green ones that are kind of more flimsy. This thing is pretty dang flimsy, but at least they've got these pieces like pressed into it, kind of stiffen it up a little bit. And I've had really good luck out of it, or really good service out of this thing. I had it at the horse farm where I was living in the shed for about 6 months, but that's a story for another time. I got great service out of it. So it was pretty dang filthy. I still need to clean this grate. But I went to take this top off to clean it off and to also tighten a connector over here where this the fuel inlet goes. It was not centered in there, so I went to try to set the little part where it hooks into it, and I noticed it was in there crooked like. So I thought, well, that's kind of off to the side. I saw these screws here. There was 3 of them. Get that up where you can see it. There's 3 screws in there that hold a little bracket that hold this on. So I went to get in there to get to that, and I noticed there wasn't anything holding this clamshell together, these 2 pieces from here on the top, and thought, what in the heck? So I flipped her over, and the bottom of the burners had these 2 little dinky screws in it. Here's the original one. See if you can see it. It's little bitty. I got one of them out. Well, I got both of them out, but then when I went to put it back together, it was stripped out. So those 2 screws are all that holds this whole thing in. So that was kind of weird. So they threaded into the bottom of these little burners, and they were stripped out. So the only thing I could figure to do was to thread them a little bigger. And these burners are held in with a couple of snap rings, or a snap ring. So you just take that off. That holds them in. So what I did was, I found a tap that's just the size bigger than they were factory built with, which I don't know what the factory one is, because it could be metric for all I know, but I tapped these out with a 632, and then I went to the hardware store, wrong hardware, and I got these little 632s that are hex and slot, and then they're gonna thread in there just fine. I can't see that, but it's in the dark down in there. They're gonna thread in there just fine. That's just an open pipe there. That's just an open pipe. So that ought to hold my base on there to the rest of the stove. So that's pretty well fixed, sorta. Let's get this back on there. Just happen to have some snap ring pliers that fit them, and they're not under that much pressure, and it's not all that critical. Okay, that looks like it's seated in. It don't even hold it tight to there is the weird part. It just kind of flops around. And then this is just spun onto the pipe. So there's our burners. This little dude here is another matter. See if I can get this where we can see it. It's the little gas supply for the burners, and then these are the valves, of course, soldered together. And this is just a stamped steel bracket, and I've tried to tighten it up, but it wouldn't tighten, and there's one of these screws dropped out. There's 3 on it. See if you can see this. It's an interesting little deal. It's spun around trying to tighten it so much it's wore a hole in the threads, or wore into a groove into the threads, so it's a goner. I had these little screws in an erector set. They're the same diameter that I'm going to use, and then I had these little 4 corner screws out of the erector set that have a nylock on them, which was kind of a cool little deal to have around. They're so tiny, can't hardly see them. But what I'm going to do is put 3 of those in there where these 3 are, and just tighten it down and hold it on there good. And it'll be ready to put back together once I do that. So if you haven't tapped anything out like this before, I found this after I'd done the dang job and I forgot I had it. This thing is a tap and drill set. I don't remember who made it. It's probably some kind of cheap thing, but it's nice to have around. Barnes, it may not be a cheap thing. Anyway, there's my 632 that I could have used, and a 632, according to this thread, 632 takes a number 36 drill, and it's got a number 36 drill in it. So I could have drilled that into just solid aluminum, what have you, and then tapped it with this 632, and it would have come out with a good 632 thread. That's pretty neat that you have the drills here, because you can see these are all number drills. Those don't mean like 16 32nds or anything. That's just a number 16 bit. There's also A through, well, there are letters and numbers too. And the letter drills, I don't think I have any of those. I didn't know I had those actually, but like I said, I didn't really have to use it. I had this old Vermont American set I've had probably literally for 50 years, 45 years. And this is a 632 tap for it. And I just put it in a little tap handle here, tighten it down. And I had this all apart, but I was holding this piece here, and I just lined it up and got it all straight as good as I could and turned it into it. Now, where I don't really recommend doing that, like I should have done it with a drill, but I didn't know I had it at the time. But it was close enough that it worked. Should have cut it looks like it cut a pretty good thread in it too, from what I can see. So probably got lucky. But the right way to do it is with this and the right numbered bit, and then the tap. So this whole thing here, this erector set, this wrench fits it pretty good. It's a 7mm. It's out of this little dinky set of ignition wrenches. They go from 4mm to 11mm. They're kind of cheesy looking, but they can be lifesaver. And then this one, this Allen key, I think it shows to be a 3mm or a number 3. Not sure how that works. Looks like it's about 3mm. So it'll go on there. And I'll get them all started in here on that supply side. And from the outside, I'll put this in there and then put that nut under that little bracket. And then I'll tighten it from the outside. And that'll get that mounted solid to the base in here. So that should take care of that wobbling around and not sitting right, not orienting right. I'm not sure if it's going to fit in there without having to drill it out. Let's look right quick. Nope, it's going to fit in there just fine. So it'll sort of kind of thread in there. And then I'll put the nut on it and tighten it up, and then take the other two. Well, I'll take the other two out when I get this one started. Having that one in there will kind of keep it in place so it won't go to springing around or anything. So I don't know if you can see that coming through there, but it's poked through. It's the front one, or the bottom one. So I'll just put a nut on top of that and then change the other two and do them. I'm going to do that right quick, and then I'll get back with you and show some more on the stuff. Okay, so I got those 3 screws and nuts and bolts in there. Bolts and nuts. The only thing I probably would have done different if I'd have had it to do over again, I would have probably put some washers under there. But there's 3 of them. It's not pulling through. It's just so thin it's kind of dented it. But that'll be fine. So next thing I got to do to just put it back together is to get the inserts in there and get them lined out. So this hole here is for this connector to fit in somehow. Just enough room to get it in there. The valves, can't really see them. They go onto those little pipes that go onto the burner, and they just fit kind of loose on there. There's that. There's that. Seeing that one, let's get it lined up. Just a little bit off. There she goes. See if I can see this one. That one's pretty close. Let's try that again. Nice and snug. Nice and snug. Just Still sticking up there. That's kind of weird that it does that, but it does it. Okay, this is a little bit, of course, by being bolted to the bottom, it's gonna be nice and stable. Spin those bad boys on. Still need to clean this grate up a little bit, but it's not horribly filthy. I got the wings cleaned on it. Okay. Now that dude is nicely centered now. And it'll go that way or this way. If you put a green can on it, you can set it that way. What we're going to do to try it out is my propane adapter. This adapter hose goes to a grill bottle over there, and it's the same size and threads in all of the little green bottles. So get it started in there. Tighten it on. Our little valves are closed. Open our propane bottle down there. I hear it. Let me go get some fire. Okay, here goes nothing. Looks like she's ready to go for another 10 years or so. All right. Well, been needing to do that and get her fixed up for a while now. Got it all cleaned up, ready to get it all bacon greased up again. I like these little stoves. This one seems like it's a little more rigid than the old flat green ones. I've got one of those stashed too somewhere. I love cooking on them. They're like the old times, cooking with gas. And here at the house we got electric, so I'm kind of have to get used to it again. But yeah, this is I'm gonna get a lot of use out of that, dude. They don't take up much room. They're light. They're fairly cheap. I got this one at a friggin' Samaritan or something for Goodwill type place for probably $10 or less. I've got this Y connector, or another hose with a Y connector on it, and I can use this grill bottle, and I can use my grill bottle for the stove. And then I've got a Y connector, like I said, that goes on here. That oh, here it is. So I can connect that to the grill bottle, right? And then this hose is exactly the same as the one I'm using. It'll come out this side, this will come out that side, and then we've got two. So the cool thing about that is I can run a lantern and run the stove at the same time. So yeah, a neat little setup. Some of them have electric ignition. this, that, and the other. I like this one's just stone simple. Puts out a nice flame. Puts out a lot of heat. Do some coffee up real quick. Fry some bacon and eggs. Done it in many a morning. And then with this unit here, you can run another propane accessory, or you can run a lantern. I've got a big old Coleman North Star lantern that runs really good off of it. Seriously puts out some light. So I thought you might enjoy that. I mean, a lot of times if you didn't have access to the taps and drill and know what that little dinky part of the technology was, you might be willing or be inclined to just throw that thing away. But it didn't take no time to fix that. I mean, I had those screws to hold the base down, and I went to Ace Hardware of all places and got those two 632 screws with the hex heads that hold the base on, and they were 30 cents a piece. So check into stuff. You may not, you don't have to. This project didn't happen all at once. I didn't just tear everything down and run around all over town. I went ahead and went by the store while I was on that end of town at the post office, and like, hey, you gotta, and pick those up, get stuff lined out, found the deals for the erector set, and like, hey, those will work, because I'm kind of a hoarder, rumor has it, and feel pretty glad that it worked out, and hope you enjoyed it. It was like a little bit too short for a video and a little bit too long for a short, so hope you got some good out of it. Like I said, I recommend these stupid little stoves. They're great. I mean, I've cooked many a breakfast on this thing, and look to do many more since I got it cleaned up and working again. Appreciate you stopping by and checking on me, and get some more stuff going here before too long. Check back with me from time to time, and take her easy.